so happens that I've run out of that battery, so I kind of guessed it. So that's why. Okay, so we'll start with today's session, and our basic topic for today is called as we're starting with the Sankhya part. So please remember the 6 systems of Indian philosophy that I'm doing in this course. Certainly, I'm not doing them exhaustively. It's not possible to do them exhaustively within 28-30 hours. But rather, I'm taking a small sample of each of these and presenting them to you. And also the challenge is, time to time, I'm trying to speak about various modern scientific understandings about all these points, because otherwise it would be too abstract and would not make much sense, right? So that's why we are talking a lot of stuff that's actually not as such part of the 6 philosophies, but I have to talk that, otherwise you wouldn't be able to enjoy what we are really talking here. So today we are looking at what I call as Sankhya. The spelling is actually wrong. I need to put an H over here. I'll correct that later. So Sankhya basically means dualism. You know, the model of dualism. That's what it literally means. And the main topic for today is selfhood, Purusha. So I'll explain these terms very quickly. So the first thing I would like to say is that there is this French philosopher whose name is René Descartes. Any of you heard about him? René Descartes? Okay, he's considered the father of Western philosophy. So he's a very big personality in this field. So he was one of the first philosophers in the West who also spoke of the dualistic model. Now, what do you mean by dualistic model? Let me explain. The whole question over here, which we are trying to address today, is who is the self? You know, this is a philosophical question. That means, who is the person? This is the question that we have set out to address today, right? Basically, who are we? You know, that's the philosophical question for the day. So currently, the way we understand through science and everything, we understand we have a singular idea about ourselves, right? As in, if you ask who we are, if I ask a question, you know, who am I or who is a human? Basically, we just understand human as this body, which is a combination of various atoms, molecules, and biology. Correct? We understand ourselves as a biological entity. Am I right or no? Yeah. So that's how we understand. But this answer that we are simply a combination of atoms and molecules and some chemicals has not satisfied philosophers since long time, and neither it satisfies them today. Please remember that. That is the reason that René Descartes set out to promote or talk about the dualistic model. So René Descartes was the first Western philosopher who spoke about the idea that a human being is not just the body that you see, but he is actually comprising of 2 things. One is the body that we directly see and interact with, and the other is the mind, which is something beyond this body, which is not in some way physically locatable, but that is also there. And that and the body interact at some particular point in the body. He in fact said that the pineal gland is the place where the mind and the body actually interact. So this was the theory proposed by René Descartes. Okay, so this has been discussed since then. Now obviously you may ask the question, what is the need for this theory, or why are people talking about this? So that's really what we are going to talk today. And as far as the Sankhya is concerned, the Indian system of Sankhya philosophy, it very clearly talks about this duality. So that means the Sankhya again talks about the dual model of the question as to who we are, that is, who am I? If I ask this question, Sankhya says that there are 2 components to who I am. One is what we call as the Prakriti, which is simply meaning the body, and the second is the Purusha, which basically is referring to the self, okay, which is also called sometimes as the soul, or it's also called as the Atma. So this is what the Sankhya actually talks about. Okay, so we will be seeing various ways in which we can understand this particular model today. I'll be presenting to you a lot of evidences from modern science as well, which certainly are very interesting, because they will tell you that if you simply accept that we are only the body, then these scientific evidences that we have today are unable to answer it properly. So we will be seeing all that stuff today. So today's session, I hope you really enjoy. Okay, so the whole question is basically, who am I? So that's what we are trying to ask today in our session, who am I? So you see this question. So okay, so I'll start with just a piece of some kind of interaction. So I would like to ask you a simple question. If someone asks you or me as to who am I, what is the typical answers that we give? Like if someone asks you, who are you? What do you tell people basically? Yeah, very good. Name. Okay. So one thing we could all tell is our name. Anything else we could tell? Gender, yeah. Yes, very good. Gender. Anything else we say about ourselves? Profession. We can tell our profession. We could tell our age.
Background, where we are.
Okay, background. I think you are talking about background as in nationality. Yeah, so I think that's background. Background has many things. One could be nationality, one could be religion, one could be, so many things are there which one could say as a background. Anything else we could say about who we are? Is that all? Qualification, yeah, profession, qualification, kind of slightly together. Anyway, qualification and profession. Anything else, yeah?
Maybe our hobbies and interests.
Our hobbies and interests. Okay, great. Interests. Anything else as to who we are? I think this is all, right? I mean, by and large, this is what we say. Now, interestingly, if you observe in this list, how many items in this are actually changeable? I mean, that means how many of these can be changed? Please be convinced everything is changeable. The entire list is changeable today. Gender was not, it just often it changes. As in, today you're 20-year-old, after 5 years you will change, right? Yeah, of course you change. I mean, yeah, why not? Over a period of time, once again, see, it's like this. Today you're an Indian means tomorrow also you're an Indian, but likely 10 years down the line you could take a green card and you could become an American citizen. So you renounce your Indian passport and take that passport, your nationality changes. What I'm saying is, over the period of time, all these things can change. That's very interesting, because I asked you, who am I? And the answers that came as to who am I are all changeable entities. But one thing, please be convinced, or I would like to ask you only, what's your opinion on this? Suppose, let us say I changed everything in a period of 10 years. Have I changed? As in, I mean, that's again a question, then what do you mean by I am this? That's the question really I have. See, you understood the point, right? In 10 years, if I change everything, have I changed? Have not changed. That's the strange thing, that even though all these things have changed, still there is something about me that has not changed. In fact, if you see strictly from biology, biology defines humans as made up of cells, right? And cells are born and they constantly die, so cells are replaced. Previously, the understanding was brain cells are not replaced, but since the 1990s, it has been seen that in mammals like monkeys, etc., even in brain, the cells keep changing. So the current understanding in biology is that in a period of 7 years, all your cells change. So basically at the age of 20, if I have all this plus a set of cells, which is basically this body, at the age of 27, I could have changed everything, including the cells. But strangely enough, still, some way we all know that we have not changed actually. I mean, as in, I'm still, there is some essence of me that is still me only. So what is that? That's the reason why this philosophical question comes in as to who am I. Okay. Sorry, I think I put a wrong M over here. Okay, so anyway, so this is some very interesting medical stat. That there was this professor who analyzed the human body as water, like 70% water. We have 5 pounds calcium, 1.5 pounds phosphate, 9 ounces potassium, 6 ounces sulfur, sodium, 1 ounce magnesium, and all this stuff. And the market value of all this is approximately 110 rupees. So basically, if you see in terms of biology, in terms of reduction our body to basic chemicals, and you find the weight of each item and you go to buy in the market, you will get it for this much amount. So which is certainly doesn't look very comfortable that, that's what, Okay. So the whole question is then who we are again. So this is where this particular thing comes. So basically I would like to start with, so as I had told you last time, when I spoke about verbal testimony, I spoke to you the concept of an axiom. An axiom is a statement which initially we start with and then we try to understand why it is like that. So similarly in the Indian systems of philosophy, everything is basically an axiom. So we start off with this axiom and then I will try to elaborate various reasons as to how this could be actually plausible or possible, right? So the axiom that we are basically stating is that, okay, so this is just a figurative idea that there is death and there is birth again. The idea basically is, this is the Samkhya idea, that the person, that this I, when I say I, this I is basically not actually the body, but rather it is this entity which we are now calling as the Atma or the soul. Now what it is, definition of it, everything we will come to slowly one by one. So please hold on. So the axiom is that this particular Atma or the person has neither birth nor death at any time. So this is the axiom that we start off with. So the definition of the self or the soul is a unit of consciousness that stays eternal. So this is the axiom that we start with. I'll try to defend it in various ways throughout our 2-hour talk today. Okay, so we are talking about this Atma as a unit of consciousness. Now what is consciousness? I'll come to that as well. That stays eternal. So this is the axiom. So we will defend it. So the basic definition is that this has neither birth nor death. So as in it stays. Only what changes is his body. So it's kind of compared to a person who's wearing a shirt. He changes the shirt, wears another shirt, but still he remains the same person. So that's the idea over here. Okay, so let's see more on it very soon. So basically this is another way of talking that he's eternal. Eternality means not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. Please try to understand at least as a definition what is eternal. Eternal basically, so the opposite of eternal is temporary. And when we say something is temporary, what we are really saying is that time affects it, right? So when do we say something is temporary? Because of the effect of time, right? So time has an effect on matter in general, right? So as in, for example, this bench, time created it at some time, maybe I think we made this entire floor 5 years back, so it came up 5 years ago. And obviously it's not always going to remain as a bench. Maybe 20-30 years down the line, it would just get disintegrated and would take some other shape or form. You understand this? So that means time in general affects matter. Yeah, sorry. I think the right word is that. Yeah, sorry, not even. Time affects matter, right? It moves it from a beginning to an end. So our body also, if you see, we are all born, we have a start date, and we all know that, one day everyone basically gives up the body, he dies. So basically anything matter, even the universe we know that even science entertains such models itself, and even the philosophies of India talk about creation and destruction of the universe, because the universe is also a cosmic body, and that body also, time affects it. So it comes into being at a point of time, and it is finished at some point of time. You understand? So eternality means what? Time does not have an effect on it. Basically, that's what. That is beyond the purview of time. Okay, so that's what it is. So we will see more on it very soon. So don't worry. I'm just defining the terms. Okay, so the whole idea is that he's unborn, eternal, ever existing, and he's not slain when the body is slain. So this is from the Gita. So yeah, so this is the basic idea. So this simple depiction shows how even within one life itself, a person's body is actually changing. This body and this body are different, and this body and this body are totally different. But still, for some reason, this person understands himself to be the same person. You know who was this? He doesn't say that someone else went to school. No, he only went to school. Right? Long ago. Yeah. So, the basic difference between the Prakriti and the Purusha. So, the Sankhya talks about these two things, Prakriti and Purusha. So, the body is basically understood as matter. Matter means, we all understand, matter means combinations of earth, water, fire, anything, etc. And the soul is something different. It's not matter, basically. This is not conscious. Now, consciousness, again, I'm going to come to it very soon. But the soul is consciousness. So I'll define consciousness over here. Can anybody tell me what do you understand as conscious? I'm sure you have come across this word somewhere. Consciousness. So I would just like to know, how would you define conscious? Of course, we all say that somebody is unconscious. You know, that's the general understanding we have. Someone is in coma, we say he's unconscious.
Yeah. State of awareness.
State of awareness. Very good. State of awareness is consciousness. Great. So the essence of consciousness is, to be aware, right? So that French philosopher René Descartes, he had a very famous slogan, "Cogito ergo sum" in French, which basically means, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. So the philosophical statement, the meaning here is the same point, that I'm aware that I'm existing. There is something in my system which is constantly aware of not only my existence, but also of my body. That means I'm aware of the pleasures and pain in the body. If I have a pain in my hand, in my leg, or if I'm feeling fit and fine, if I'm hungry, then my mood swings, if I'm feeling very jolly in my mind, if I'm feeling very upset. So there is some entity within our system which is aware of these particular changes that's happening within ourselves. So where is this awareness coming from? This has been the challenge in consciousness studies all the time. Okay, so for example, if someone would say that I don't want to accept the dual model and I'm happy with the singular model that the body is all that is, he's faced with the challenge of explaining where this awareness is coming from. You understood? That means because the body is made up of all these chemicals like potassium, sulfur and so on. None of those things are aware. Right? I mean, I can buy all those things which the human body is made of from the market for 110 rupees and bring it on the table. Individually, none of them are aware that they exist. So when it is mixed in this combination, how come that awareness has come? So what is that awareness? So this is what we are going to discuss today. So hold on, there will be more. We will try to explain this a little bit more, but that's what actually we are talking as consciousness. Okay, so more of it later. So currently let us define. So the body changes. So this is not very difficult to say because we all know that we are changing. As you see the background, the body is changing, but the person is not changing. Right? As in, even though 7 years back I had a different body biologically, I have still not changed. I remember. I mean, what 7? Even 14 years back I was teaching in the same college, and I kind of remember all the kids that I taught and so many things. So I have those experiences as part of my system. So everything has changed, but still something has not changed. So that's what we are calling as not changing. And this is temporary, this is not very difficult to understand because the body is always changing, whereas this unit of consciousness is not changing. So the unit of consciousness is staying the way it is. You know, we are always aware in the same way. Just that our externals are changing, but that awareness principle is really not changing. That's what we are saying internally. And this is considered dead, dead as in the chemicals and everything that generally the body is made up of are considered as dead matter, whereas this person is alive. So there's something very interesting. So this is a basic thing. Okay, so this philosophy also comes in the Bhagavad Gita, where so just to give you again a background of the Gita. So most of you perhaps will be knowing the basic theme of the story, that in the Mahabharata you have this the Pandavas and the Kauravas are at odds because of the kingdom and you know who owns the land. So you know that at some point of time it is divided into two among the cousins, but then one party is still not happy, and the Kauravas invite the Pandavas for an infamous gambling match and take everything away, send them to a forest for a period of exile, and when they come back they refuse to give them anything. You know, typical way in which people take over property. You know, you first take it over and then refuse to give it back. So then these people are wondering, okay, well, what to do now? Because, you know, we have lost our property. So they first tried to bargain with them. In fact, Krishna goes as the peacemaker, and he's asking them, even if you give 5 villages, it's okay, they'll be happy. You keep the whole country for yourself, give 5 villages to the 5 Pandavas, they'll be happy, I'll convince them. Let's avoid bloodshed. Duryodhana says, no, I'll not give you even land under the tip of a needle, so get lost. So he says, I'm not going to give you anything. That's what he basically says. So when it comes to that, finally there is a war where everyone comes together to fight. And when they come to fight, Arjuna is faced with an existential crisis. His crisis is, why should I kill all my relatives? Because it seems like a family get together over here. You know, we are there, our cousins are there, their children are there, our kids are there, our teachers are there, grandfather is there. So many people are there, just that we are on two sides of the party and we are here to fight. So Arjuna's question is, why to fight and kill so many people just for a kingdom? So, and he's actually confused.